What's going on, guys? Aiden Smith here with the Paint Your Path podcast. We got my man Joel Mercado in the house.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on, bro?
Man, I'm chilling, man. How you doing, brother?
Eagles win, football. You can't ask for anything better.
Yeah, man. I love following you guys online when people are talking about everything that we post. So I saw someone saying that's the least they can get from beating the Cowboys or something.
Oh, yeah. Nah, dude, this week was crazy because I'm into like fantasy football and all that.
Yeah.
So like my Sundays now are like me on my laptop just doing like light work and then just straight up eyes glued.
Yeah.
So, I've done that for years now. We actually have a league that's been running for 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, we actually just did.
Man.
We did a meetup in Ocean City, Maryland, and it was cool. Golf outing, got a house. It was cool.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, I haven't. I think I did fantasy football like once in my life.
That's funny.
A long time ago.
Dude, what's been happening? What do you got for me?
Man, so just life is good, brother. Like things popping up, things moving, right? So just being excited, man. Just nothing really brand new. I think it's just been the work of consistency is finally starting to show itself. You know what I mean?
Good.
But I've been it's been exciting watching. I've been being a watcher lately. So I've been watching people's comments and posts and just kind of watching how people are reviving. But dude, I'm excited for you, man. And the reason why I say this is like every time I go online, I see your name being blasted. I'm like, my boy.
What did I do?
Just the coaching, man. Like everybody's just like the testimonials, the reviews, the recommendations. So I'm really excited to. I know it sounds weird because we're freestyling a little bit today.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your program, man. Like, what can people expect? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at least a little bit of it, because I think it's important. A lot of people have questions, and why not talk a little bit about it?
Dude, that's actually funny that you bring this up because I was talking to Alex this morning, and I just shot him a text. I was just thinking about him. And, he had this thing, highest frequency, energy, vibrancy.
Yeah.
And he did this thing where he does it like to the highest power, meaning like God, right?
Yeah.
So like when I first met him and even met you, I think my overall energy was like pretty low, I'd say. Like I was a lower energy guy and still a little bit today, it shows. But I think the biggest thing, like when it comes to the coaching, is that I'm so passionate about it. I'll be the first one to tell you that I don't love being a painting business owner.
Yeah.
I'm capable. I don't mind it. It's enjoyable, right? The grind and growing something. And that's something that lights me up. But it's not like a passion, Yeah. When it comes to the coaching, I almost feel like if you're with me, like I am dedicated to your success, whether it's me, one of my coaches, the group itself. Like I will make sure you have enough support besides all the resources, all the systems, all that kind of stuff. I just mean overall, I want you to say, hey, Aiden gave me the game plan, or his group or his courses gave me the step-by-step game plan to be successful based on where I was at. Because that's important, right? Yeah. Like we're going to customize it to where you're at. Because we had a guy that was working at 9 to 5, super high level, making great money, that bought a business and wanted to scale up. And he did that, 20x the business in a little bit of time. And we also have guys that say, Aiden, I don't know nothing about this painting business, but I know it's a great business. I've seen other people, I've heard, I've talked about it. I've made the commitment that I'm going to do this. I just want you to help me set it up. That are also scaling 7 figures and all that kind of stuff. So it's like we have to figure out where you're at and then take you and give you the map on how to do it in the most efficient way. And that makes sense. So I would say, and sorry to cut you off a little bit, but I'm getting into it. I would say there are other programs out there that may have similar stuff. But are you a drop in the bucket in that program? Mm-hmm. Or are they making sure, like your reputation, like my reputation is on the line with every single client I work with?
100%.
And that's what keeps me going, keeps me passionate. Because the last thing I want is somebody to come in, spend their hard-earned money with me and say it wasn't worth it. And you will not find that.
Mm-mm. And that's why I mention it, right? Because when I see the reviews, I'm like, damn, dude, like this is awesome. Like it's not like just one person here and there. You're really working with a lot of people. Obviously, you figured out a structure that can help multiple people and not just like one person at a time, right? It's like
Right.
I don't know how many people you on board at a time, but it's evident like it's working. And I just wanted to shout it out, man, because I love the fact I see your body language. The moment you mentioned the coaching and how excited you got, I'm like, yeah, man, it's like there's nothing
Yeah.
more fulfilling knowing that you're helping people, right? And I agree with you. Like, I'm not a fan of being a paint owner myself, like, but it's changing people's lives and it being a vehicle.
It's a vehicle.
So think about this, right? Like, if you could talk about a couple clients, maybe not specific names, but someone that you think of, how has that shifted in their lives, right? What has that affected them and how has it helped their families, right? Like
Yeah.
people don't know that we know that and how it's helped. So if you can talk about a quick story of like, grab like maybe one person that's a pretty good transformation story
Yeah.
for you, how they first started and where they're at now, and what shifts happened in that journey that you noticed as a coach, what would pop up for you?
Can I pull something out?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think they're ready today.
They're not ready, bro. So I got one that like it's cool too because I know there's a line relationship wise for
Mhm.
business, but you are a big part of these people's lives when you're
Facts.
helping them with their business, right? Because not only are they feeling it, the relief, the increased income, you're helping them out with the people they're promising, right? A
Mhm.
new life to and a better life for with their employees and subs. But you get to connect with them on a deeper level than they had probably in any relationship in their life besides their spouse
Yep.
because you're helping them build their life and career. So it's a big step and I take it very seriously. And somebody just popped something in the chat and he's actually my coach right now because not only did we connect as far as like human to human, but like he had such a great transformation and such a hey Aiden, like I spent my money with you, like I'm gonna give it my all. So whatever you tell me to do, like I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he was so Justin, he's out of Port St. Lucie, which is a small, condensed little island. This is a
Mhm.
small place, right? Not the craziest, most high end clients, right? He's battling with other big companies in that area. There's at least four that I could just name right off the bat in his
Yeah.
local area that he's competing with high end. Another one actually in my program who also 7 figures, but that's another story. And he goes, I'm just going to read this word for word. I remember the times where we were doing 150 to 200K a year. Now we're at the 125K a month with a closing rate of 52% and a set rate of 62.5%. Thought I'd share this with the group. No matter where you are now, stay diligent, humble, and hungry, and you will reach your goals and eventually crush them. That's crazy. Just dropped that this morning.
Hey man, the timing's perfect, bro.
Dude, he was doing 30K a month, if that, on the
Mhm.
tools, right? And he had maybe 2 or 3 guys, something like that. And he had the blue collar mentality. I got to be there. I got to
Yep.
do it all. I got to deliver on every promise I'm making these clients. You know how it is when you're on the tools, like you're trying to like babysit everything. And he was all over the place and his branding wasn't that great, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So he made the transition. We dialed in a lot of different things and helped him out install all of our systems. And he is now literally coaching other people on how to do the same thing because now he believes in it so much. He just built a brand new house, a new build with him and his wife. Like it's the
Wow.
best story. I
Yeah,
love it,
man.
you know?
Wow. That's awesome. So
And he's
like,
going to be at PaintCon.
yeah, I can't wait to meet him, dude. I'm super excited. That's super awesome, man. So tell us a little bit about I love this, a little different today. I'm more hosting you. I like it. Tell us a little bit about I had a very specific thing. Have you had a client that was just straight brand new to the business, never painted, never owned a painting company? If so, what are some things for our viewers and listeners that you would suggest if they're in that boat, like what they're trying to do? What are some of the things that you would coach them on right now on this call?
Yeah, I would actually say it might be better to not know much about painting, right?
Mm,
Because you're not attached to it in the same way that these craftsmen are,
yeah.
right? You don't feel like you have to babysit. It's like these processes weren't things you were doing before. So it's like, why would I do it now? So when I tell you, hey, here's the X, Y, and Z on what you need to do, it's easier for them to execute, you know?
I love it.
Like I was talking about the guy who 20X'd, he had never ran a painting business. He was a corporate guy. And he ended up looking at a business doing 250K and thought it was a good opportunity. Ran the numbers on what they wanted and what they were asking, and he bought it. And then he was a sales rep at first, right? Because he never touched the brush. That was probably the smartest decision he ever made. And he couldn't.
Yeah.
He didn't have the time. He had a 9 to 5 at a corporate job. So it was him and his wife acted as the sitting production manager part-time. He was the sales rep part-time. And at first, yeah, it was a lot of, okay, we got to get this thing revamped, right? Ground up. Gave him some plays. Hey, here are some things you do. Get with this vendor. Get with this person. Spend your money here. Here's the return you should be looking at. And then once they stayed consistent with that, they realized that it was plug and play,
Yep.
And also with the not having the, I would say painting experience, they weren't talking paint jargon. It was always about the relationship and the why. They weren't spending a lot of time on the satin sheen and what it does in the light reflection because they didn't know it at all.
Right.
It was, we're a local business. We're looking to transform our client's life and have a great process throughout. So I think it's a benefit in a way.
I love that. So if you look at it this way, right? Let's say, again, going back to the guy who hasn't opened one and he's starting from fresh, do you suggest him to work a full-time job still? Or do you think he should go all in? And if so, whichever one you choose, why?
So I'm big on taking everybody where they're at in their current situation. If you have some money put aside, then I think you should go all in, because it can happen fast. You can start getting jobs in the next 2 to 3 weeks, right?
Yep.
Streamline everything as long as you have like the LLC and all that. But you got to make that decision mentally first, right? Because if you're in between, it's never going to work. If you're like, look, I'm going to do this job and I have a future here at this company, but I kind of want to get this painting business going just because I also want a business as well, it's going to be so much harder to get off the ground. So if you commit to one or the other and then have one of us work with you to set that up the right way, it's going to happen a lot faster. And if you don't have the money initially, stay at your job. Get a line of credit out so you can kind of have some wiggle room, still have your bills paid, and then you can start with the painting business, but it's going to take longer. That's just the reality of it.
No, I love that you said that too, because it's important. A lot of people don't realize it's the all-in aspect of it too, right? Like, don't be in between on the decision making because it's going to be very difficult. And if you're in that mindset of like, oh, this is going to happen overnight, it just not like, just won't happen, right?
Yeah.
Even with the right processes, systems, you can't control all outcomes in that sense, but what you can control is where you're at mentally with it and how you're going to execute. So I love that you mentioned that, man.
Being in between will kill you. Being in between, no matter where you're at in the business. I have a guy right now who he was holding on to dear life to not have to spend the money on a production manager. He didn't want to afford the salary, the 30 plus an hour guy that he had to consistently feed work and have him manage, right? Because it was like, well, I can do it right now. Well, then you're capping your ability to scale because you're too stretched in, right? But if you had somebody in that place, now you can feed him more jobs to manage, which ultimately grows your business, gives you more bandwidth, right? To focus on other things. And he just made the move. He's over in New York in the last, I'd say, month. He just got one, implemented the systems, and that production manager actually took a play out of your book, has been upselling jobs for him.
Oh, nice.
Big time, bro. Big time. So he's paying for himself. He's actually going on some sales now to help out. And he's a beast. And making money for the company. He actually got a contract from somebody he knew or knows. And I think it was like worth up to like $250K in high-end apartments.
Wow.
Because he took that leap of faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Isn't that wild? Like the fact that he took that position to move forward, right? And what that did to his business. Imagine if he didn't.
Yeah.
What would that look like, right? And I think a lot of guys that are listening don't realize what if I don't do it, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you said you took a play out of the book. In fact, I think this will be for another episode. I've never publicly spoke about an internal system that I do. and I call it the PM profit. And it's something that I do in every business that I'm involved is how do I write you off? So notice what you said earlier. You're like, man, he's like writing himself off. A lot of people don't think that way. They go, well, this person's going to cost me X dollars versus going, how do I get them plugged in and get them to produce X amount of dollars to write themselves off? And I have a sheet that's actually formulated that takes like job costing, and it's called the PM profit sheet. So we formulated this like 7 years ago. And our goal is to offset each week the PM salary plus commission. So it's at a zero cost based off of performance on your painters and how to get them streamlined. So I will get into another episode one day.
I love that.
So yeah, I got that. I want to talk to you privately on that one though first.
That's huge, man. No, it's so true though, right? It's like people get so hung up on the bill that they don't realize what else it can do for you, right? That position, how it can cut expenses, right? Help reach deadlines, help increase conversion on sales because you have a personal project manager for every job. Who wouldn't want that in a company to work with?
Right. 100%. Man.
Dial that into your sales process, right? And explain that and how important that is, you know?
Yeah, man.
I also think that like these opportunities aren't going to be present if you're not putting yourself in the best situation to get them, right? You need to give yourself the ability to be successful. It's like kind of having it's like why we do a vision board, because we're opening our mind into possibilities that once we were bogging ourselves down and not allowing us to achieve, right? It's like if you can't even think it or think you can do it, well, you never will do it.
Right.
You won't allow yourself to do it, right? You're putting a cap before you even have the chance to achieve it. So I think a lot of the things in business in general start with, okay, how can I create an environment for us to all flourish, right? And give everybody the best opportunities to be successful. Because like you said, what if it doesn't work, but what if it does? That's important. That's a big mindset shift that a lot of guys that are stuck, once they come to terms with, change their life forever.
Aiden spit the game today, baby.
Hey,
we're at 17 minutes. Rewind 2 more minutes back and take that clip, dude. Because I love what you just said. The cap, the visualization, and the execution. That's what a lot of people don't understand. And you literally just map that out for them. Like literally. So, dude, wow. That was awesome.
I've lived it, bro. You know, like I've been in a place, not even business-wise, life-wise, I didn't think there was anything else. I was consumed by an environment where going and selling drugs was a real route that you consider, right? And until you see differently, that's why I'm so big on traveling right now. Like this cruise, man, it just opened my eyes up, you know, just seeing how these guys operate, seeing the different, what's out there, it just changes your perspective. So
man.
We're going to make a big, you know, push to travel a little bit more. I know we travel back and forth locally, but we want to really get out there and see what's out there. Because I think it only helps you, you know?
Man, I mean, think about it. If you're seeing how other people's lifestyles are, right, and the possibilities when you open up those opportunities, right, it really gets you to come back home. First of all, I don't know about you, but like when I travel, I tend to becoming more creative.
Yeah.
It almost gives me more inspiration of what am I currently doing in my life? And then I like literally my mind just goes in this creative mode. So when I get back, it's like, all right, right back in the lab again. It's almost a refresh. It adds layers to what you're already doing. So I agree with you because it's giving you more of that inspo, right? And seeing all these other things, different types of people, the way they talk, the way they dress, the way they live, the way they look at life too. And these conversations you're having opens up because you got to remember, dude, we're still in our day to day, even though we are at certain levels that we're bringing our people up. What about us still? Right. And being able to be stimulated in that sense. I agree with you, man. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important, man. It's important to try new things, even if they don't work out either. Like, you know, don't have to be perfect. Like we went to the Bahamas on the cruise and one of the islands, we were like, never again. But we still got to experience it, you know?
Yeah.
And I've always been like a risk taker no matter what, like just moving out here on a whim. was a big change for me from Philly
Yeah.
to Florida. And I took a corporate test. I might have talked about this before, but it was like kind of like a disc assessment in a way, but it was called Caliper. And my risk taking was 99. That's very rare
Wow.
on these tests, right? You're usually between like 30 and 70. It was at a 99. And that's kind of just how I am. I'll jump in the
Wow.
deep end, figure it out, and we'll go from there.
Man, I gotta take that test, see where I'm at.
You should, man. It's cool.
I feel like I take a lot of risks, so it's like maybe I'll be up there with you, brother.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
going back to, our previous pod with the events, I mean, it's the same idea. Getting out of your comfort zone, right? You're seeing new perspective, other people. You're seeing how they live, what they do, how they process things. Like my brother-in-law was a big inspiration for me, just seeing how he is. And he's a big corporate guy. But
Okay.
just seeing how he goes about his life. Like I remember one time I was working out. And he's like, "Oh, what's your workout regimen?" And I'm like, back and buys, chest and tries. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, but like, what are you lifting? Like, how are you doing it?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "You don't have it written down?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Dude, what are you doing? You got to see your progress. You got to see what you're doing and see how you improve from day one to day, whatever."
Yep.
And I didn't even think of it like that. I'm like, well, if I go, that's enough. No, that's the start. You got to dial it in. Imagine if you take that idea and perspective through everything you do. That's a game changer. Just that little perspective change.
Yeah, man. Oof. I'm loving this today, dude. This is good. You're absolutely right, though. And I think that's what you end up molding yourself to over time as you start to realize that you created this for your business. You start creating it in your personal life. I think that's the separator of a lot of higher level people, right?
Yeah.
Is that they automatically start to do that over time because they understand that's obviously that saying of progress over perfection, but you start to perfect the progress. That's what people don't understand. You know what I mean? Because then you tweak. You go, okay, what do I do next? This didn't work so much for me. You're not being blinded and you're not avoiding the actual progress, right? So everything you do in life, when you pay attention to that and you're doing these little tweaks, naturally that compounding effect comes to success in whatever that is in your life, right? And I think that's what people don't understand. So I love that you mentioned that because it's no different than the mindset, right? And this is something that people don't realize is when you make a conscious decision, everything changes from then.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what that is. Like the fact that he's like, hey, why aren't you writing it down? Like to us, like if we're not paying attention to that, it's like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, dude, what are you talking
That's
about?
awesome.
I go all the time. And he's like, you'll never know if you have, like, you're basically wasting your time if you don't know your progress. You're delaying your success by not being able to say, okay, month after month, here is the increase in strength. Here's differences in weight. You're just stuck.
Yeah.
And you don't even know it.
It's like the job costing of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It is. That's so
it's
true.
wild, but yeah, that's
Checks and
a way of
balances.
looking at it.
I actually, and this is something Alex told me today, and I knew it, but you know how he hits a little harder.
Oh yeah.
And he says, dude, like a lot of guys can bull run to a finish line. Like they can get there. Like a guy can scale to 7 figures, but what's it
100%.
going to take out of him? What is he willing to sacrifice in order to make it happen? Are they getting there because of just that sheer brute strength, or are they really internally leveling up to be able to handle that and more?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you've seen guys before, guys that are fully capable, that are dialed in within life, mentally, they're doing all the right things, and you just know they're on another level, doing a million. And then you got that guy that just got there by the skin of his teeth, and he had sleepless nights, and it was all over the place, and it was rough. Those are two different individuals who this guy's going to keep going. This guy's going to be like, oh, shit, I made it. Oh, shit, now I'm going back down. He's going to be stuck in between because his internal wasn't to where his success was.
Dude, I love that you mentioned that because, man, this has been a topic a lot lately, actually. Because, when people talk about sustainability, anyone can do anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like I teach all the time. Great. Anyone can do that once. Anyone can do that twice. But can you continue to repeat it and get better at it each time? So the next part of life, once you get to these goals, can you sustain it? Mm-hmm. Can you be consistent? And one thing I always tell everybody, this is something, I don't know if I've said this in the past on our pod. I say production, right? Like I use production as an example, just like you said, the 7 figures. I tell people, well, you can make production extremely easy or you can make production extremely difficult. You choose which one you want. For me, I think production is the easiest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the beginning, I thought it was the most horrible and the hardest thing I ever dealt with. But when you started learning processes and you start going, this works, I'm going to continue this. This doesn't, I'm going to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you take that proactive approach, same guy, different situations, different actions give you different outcomes, right? And it's that like vicious cycle in the mind when people start to go, well, this is just the life I'm living. I'm like, well, you're right.
Yeah.
You're choosing that. That's why I love that you brought that topic up, because again, 7 figures is still 7 figures as an income, right? How you got there is completely different paths for certain people.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, do you want to be the happy one that got the 7 figures, or you want to be the miserable one that got the 7 figures? I choose happy every time.
Yeah. That can't sustain it, you know?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
It's like you cross the finish line, but you're not even looking for another marathon race to go to, you know?
Yeah.
You're already burnt out. You're like, never again. I'd rather scale back, you know?
You could see that. You can see that in anybody that did that. And that actually, I was on a podcast last week. I actually mentioned that on coaching.
For what?
So I forget what he asked me, but it was along the lines of like what separates coaches or something along that lines. And I was like, a great coach understands certain things, and they're going to be a part of that journey with you.
Mm.
And they know how to sustain in life. They know what consistency looks like. You can tell when you look at a leader and a coach, right? Like in our field, coaches, right? You can tell someone that got there, that knows how to get there,
Gotcha.
but they didn't really know how to teach it, but now they're teaching it. And I'm not, and it's no shade to any coaches, by the way. Like I'm just saying, you can see the difference. That's why I highlight you. You know what I mean? Like when people ask me, like, "Oh, why are you guys together?" and this, that, I'm like, because I know Aiden, his trajectory and his journey is going to continue. He's not just here for 2024 to 2026.
Right.
I know that. Right. And when I tell people too, the journey of coaching, I've been coaching for like 20 years. I just haven't professionally made a system or a process for it. Yeah. We're all coaches, right? All of us that are in a leadership role, we've been coaching for so long. We see before other people see, because we've been there, or we foresee certain issues before they happen. So I bring that up only because it's like that goes back to that consistency and sustainability, right? We can see certain things happening. Just before the call, you were mentioning how you redid something, an internal process. You're like, I saw this issue. I immediately put this new thing in, done. Yeah. Most people will not recognize that. And that one lack of shifting immediately could change their whole trajectory of their career and their business. That, like, you see the difference when how I like identify that? Like when I hear someone like you say, "Hey, this happened today. I immediately changed it, and this is what we did." That's what I'm talking about, the difference between someone that's going to have sustainability and consistency versus someone that ignores it, avoids it, still gets to a goal, but they have all these broken processes and it's just lingering. Yeah. You know what I mean? It will catch up to you. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the internal, right? It's like I've seen it before, right? I've ran into a similar problem. I know how to respond now, right?
Yes.
Not a lot of people it comes like that to, you know. It is a tumbling forward, right? And that's why you got to really like, anybody can be a boss, right? But like when it comes to like setting up your team for success, that's a skill, you know.
100%.
like making sure that your guys are all like dialed in, are motivated, have the right training, and you invested in them, and now they're performing. Like that shows what a good leader is. If I didn't know the boss to a company, but I just kind of spectated around and seen all the roles and how everything was getting carried out, I would know what type of boss is sitting at the top.
Facts.
Right. I don't even need to know the guy. I just need to see what his operations like and what he's about internally. So It's
Facts.
important, right? And then like, if you don't have the time or you're too consumed with different tasks and you're failing to delegate because you don't have that mindset or you're not setting yourself up for success to do that, you are never going to be able to achieve that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love that you say that. If you guys are listening, what he just said right there, choose one thing right now, be highly focused. I promise you, you will flourish in it. Just choose that one thing. If it's your painting company, be the best painting company out in your area, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you might buy back some more time. You might want to dabble in some things, but why don't you just freshen up what you got? And I say that's to me. I'm actually telling myself, my younger self, that right now, because
Mm-hmm.
like I expanded so quick that I didn't stay enough in the culture for the one business, which I wish I did more of back then, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned that, because if I would have done that, I know where my business, that one business, could have been. And I know where it's at now, but it's like, man, it could be even more. It could be
Mm.
even at a whole nother level of what I can imagine it to be. And that's important. I think stay focused. I love that you mentioned that, because I hear a lot of people in the industry, right? They're like, oh, I'm making a little bit more money. I'm buying back some more time. I got these right people. Then they want to start getting into real estate and all these things. And they always ask me, like, what do you suggest? I'm like, stay focused on your business, because those other things are going to affect your business. You worked so hard on it. And just like that, poof, it can go away.
It's the
And you're back
easiest
in the seat.
ROI.
100%.
Yeah.
So enjoy your life. Don't get me wrong. Like, enjoy your time that you just bought back, but also keep building. Keep
Yeah.
building that business you have. And don't get me wrong. Once you're at that other level that you can start dabbling in other things, but like, just get that one thing down so good that it doesn't need you. And yes, it could build itself at that
Yeah.
point.
And
So,
speaking about team, right? We have a lot of guys that we coach, and when we first get them on, they always have those problem guys that are sitting
yes.
around, right? It's like,
Yes.
Mike, man, he's cool, but man, he makes me want to pull my hair out some days.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, that painter, he's good when he's on, but he has those days and it really messes things up. And it's like, one, you don't believe that there's anybody out there that can replace what he brings to the table, which is not true, number one. But number
Yep.
two, you're afraid of the conversation and what it will bring up and the turmoil that it will kind of create in the business. So you're avoiding it.
Yep.
So how do we go from here? What do we do now? Right.
Yeah.
And actually, Brad Ellison came on our coaching call the other day. Shout out to Brad. And
Nice.
$6 million business right out in Michigan. Guy knows a thing or two. And he
Yeah.
comes on and he says, one of the things I would have told myself before I started my painting business is, when people tell you who they are, believe them.
My
Bro,
wife just said that the other day.
no way.
Yeah, that's like her
So true.
biggest saying. That's so true.
Dude, because it is there are signs, and if you don't nip it in the butt, it's going to grow, right? It's like a
Mm-hmm.
toxicness. And the more ingrained they get into your business and the more they kind of like make their own bed, you have to now deal with it once it's
Mm-hmm.
all in and it's festered and what that creates. And another story, I work with a guy named Josh, and he put out an ad because he's growing. He wants another W-2 guy, high level guy. And,
Yeah.
I'll be the first to say, they're relatively hard to come by, especially the guys that are like put together high level. And he had a referral from one of his painters, and he said, hey, this is the guy. So you already know this is a slam dunk. Go through the interview process, check all the boxes, you're in.
Yeah.
And he skipped a couple questions on the ad posting on his
Oof.
responses. So he calls him up and he goes, look, you were referred by my top guy. Now I can't hire you. But that's
Ooh.
such a proud moment for me because I'm like,
Ooh. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what you got to do. You got to take this guy at face value. He showed you what he is before he was even in the company.
Yeah.
And he's like, now I can't hire you. We can, go from here, take some time off. Maybe in the future we get together. But man, you made it hard for me now.
Mm.
What am I going to do? And he's like, oh, it's not like that. It just blah, blah, blah. Don't matter. You skip
Yeah.
the process.
Yeah. And it wasn't that hard to not do,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, dude, that's well said, man. It's wow. I love that, because a lot of people don't learn that early on,
Yeah.
and they have to go through that pain, and then they're just going to completely repeat that like cycle, right? well, I just hired someone. And I'm dealing with that right now with my boy here. He's a landscaper.
Yeah.
And he's 18 years old and he just keeps hiring these guys. I'm like, listen, dude, like
Is that who I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Dude, he's gonna be like, he's a beast though. That's the craziest part is like 18 years old and he's just gonna crush it, man. He's already doing a great job with the lack of skilled people. That's the wild part. I'm like, bro, wait till you actually have the right people in the right seats. You're gonna find yourself not knowing what to do with yourself because they're gonna take over. They're gonna do the right job. Just keep looking. And I keep telling guys, I feel like I'm repeating myself, is hire because you want, don't hire because you need.
Yeah.
And because when you're already in the necessity part, it's been too late. That's just how my brain operates. And I think that goes very hand in hand with what you just said, man. Like,
yeah. And I don't want to jump to conclusions because I know that he's doing well, right?
Yeah.
Better than most, I'm gonna be honest, as far as people in his field and what he's doing. But I think the age plays a factor on getting top talent because there's times where I don't want to say it's hard to attract top talent when you're at like a certain maturity, but you also don't want to feel that somebody's too good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah.
And it's like I talk to guys all the time when they're hiring like that higher level role, that sales rep production manager, they get somebody that's really good and they start to get intimidated because they're like, I have to trust myself to provide a life for this guy. You know what I mean?
Well, there's an actual answer to that.
Okay.
Which is we're starting in the book club here shortly, is called the 5 levels of leadership. So if I hope, our listeners take away from this, if your leadership level is lower than the person you're bringing on, you're right. You are intimidated by it. It's like a natural law because then now that person, if their leadership skills are higher than yours, they could see it. No different than when you talked about your brother-in-law being like, hey, why didn't you just write that? Like there's cues that people, when they're in a room with you, they can tell what level leadership you're at. So just like you were saying with our boy, who's 18 years old, it's not about the age. It's about how he carries himself with the knowledge and the way he leads. 18 or not, it's about leading properly. So just like you said, if a guy's a higher salesman and you're already feeling kind of like that intimidation factor, he can smell it. He can see it. And I highly suggest everyone to get 5 levels of leadership and understand what level are you. That means that's the type of people you're going to attract.
Yeah.
Because it says like attracts like. And in the leadership world, if you're a level 3, there's no way you can hire a 4 or a 5 because you're a level 3.
Yeah.
You'll get a 1 or a 2. What does that say about your organization? And how are you going to grow your organization if you're not growing your leadership levels? So I had to learn that the hard way, right? Like that's something that I always talk about. So that's really what it is. It's a leadership issue, not really so much the experience in the sales.
So I was on to something.
Oh, dude, you hit the nail on the head. It was just, it's literally called levels of leadership, right? Like what level of leadership are you on? That's what you're going to attract. Anyone that you're at and below. Yeah. It's difficult for you to get a higher leader than you.
I struggled with that back in Philly, right? It was like I tried to hire all my friends and, half of that was I felt kind of iffy on where I was at and how I conducted the business. But 2, it was like I kind of wanted to be around these people day to day, right? It was like fun. It was kind of like, look, if I can have my boys around me and I'm painting, making money, that's the dream. We're just messing around. But that'll only get you so far, and I realized that quickly. And once I started to realize that and separate myself, that's when I started to have turmoil and things started to go south. And so I know a lot of people, potentially listening are dealing with that where they're hiring family members or friends because it's convenient and because they feel like, it's easy, the situation. But I think it can affect you in more negative ways than positive. Especially early on. If you're already a leader, I think, there's some safe spots. But early on, it's tough.
I agree, brother. And that's where I'm in the future. For me, I'm no longer doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But that was my model for years. And it's just, you said it right. They view you a certain way, no matter how good your leadership is. they're still your friend or family member. They view you as this older person, this older version of you. They don't see where you've been or what you've changed and how you're moving forward with certain things.
Yeah.
And that's tough. It's absolutely tough, man.
And how do they feel when you are leveling up and they're under you? You know what I mean? I actually just had this conversation with somebody where a guy wanted to have his own business and whatnot, but he was working under a guy, and he's like, he'll be a temporary. He'll be somebody that'll be there because it's convenient. You guys both need each other. But eventually, it's going to go south, you know?
Yeah.
Just the reality of it.
100%.
So man. I think, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm just excited. We're dropping some gems today.
Yeah, I mean, I think motivation is a big thing. You know, you can analyze guys' personalities in every which way with every test in the world, but it's like a lot of times you can read the room. You can see what they're out for, what the situation is, and again, you have to take it at face value and choose: is that right for you?
Yeah,
or is it convenient for you?
Man, I love that, dude. I love that. So do you happen to have like a hiring system? Is that like did you put like a process together for yourself for hiring?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a 3
questions. I was like, ooh, you're onto something.
Yeah, we have like a 3 tiered vetting system to where you have to prove yourself 3 times. Right.
Wow.
So it's like first initial phone call, right? Let's just shoot the shit, see what you're about. You presentable? Did you show up on time? Do you sound like you know what you're doing? Right? Do you check all the boxes initially? Number 2 is meet up in a local area, right?
Yep.
Starbucks, coffee shop, whatever the case may be. I'll kind of lay out what we're about. Again, did you show up on time? Were you presentable? When I'm telling you stuff, are you registering it and you're like, oh, on the same page? I might even walk you through a project and see what our processes are. And then once we feel really good, level 3 is like, hey, let's get all the paperwork signed. Let's do a final, hey, this is what it is. Here's what the pay looks like, all that kind of stuff. Are you ready to go? And if you don't give me that in a fair amount of time and it's all correct and whatnot, again, I'm looking out for these red flags now, because if you're not doing it now properly, in the future, you're not going to get acceptance form signed. You're not going to get back to me on certain things. You're not going to look at the change orders and work orders. I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success. So if I can give you 3 tests that are pretty complex as we move forward and you pass them all, there's no reason for me to believe that you'll mess it up while we're working together.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, you guys know where to find Aiden. Look him up. Get in the system. Get in the cycle, my guys.
We're rolling, man. We're excited for what is. You know, I know we're talking about doing some stuff together just because we complement everything that we do. But it's cool, man, especially when you got something super paint specific, you know, like I know we're Paint Your Path and we talk to general contractors, but I think the main people that listen are probably painting contractors.
Yep.
So having a paint specific resource is important, because I had a talk with somebody the other day who was looking at a sales trainer. He's like, hey, I'm really looking into sales. This is like a high level guy. And he's like, you know, can you point me in the right direction? Just sales. That's all I need. High level sales. And he's rattling off some names. And I said, hey, honestly, they're not sales specific. So some of the verbiage and things they give you won't work on your sales. And it might even deter some people and give you a bad, you know, reputation. Yep. And I think me and you had a discussion like this, like certain closing methods don't work on painting homeowners or home service homeowners. That works for other industries, insurance, all that kind of stuff. For us, it's like,
you got to be able to identify and read the room. And like, obviously, like we give tools to help you understand it, but you're right. Like I tell people I have a 2-no policy. Like if they say no twice to me already, I'm done overcoming objections. And I'm really just trying to get them set up for a follow-up call and good to go. Because you do a good enough job during the presentation, they're going to call you back, right? They're going to go with you. If you follow your process and completely do that, then you don't need to worry about trying to hard close them. And that actually will turn them off in the home services. I've seen it. So it's like, you know, you got to be careful. In other industries, of course, like car industries and stuff like that, you have to be a little bit more assertive, because once they leave, you're probably not going to get the sale.
Right.
But not when someone's going to spend 10 grand with you, you know what I mean? Out of pocket. Like you got to be able to build a relationship properly. So
Yeah, and that's why like a brand and kind of an ecosystem is so important, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I want to get your thoughts. I always thought about, and I had a conversation with somebody recently, and they were talking about how why do people buy these higher end designer brands? Why do people go out and spend on Prada, Gucci, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff? Is it
Yeah.
because they genuinely think it's the best product out there? Maybe. Or is it
Mm.
because it elevates their status within society and how they're perceived?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
more likely. So if
Absolutely.
we can get more clients looking at us as a status symbol and more of, hey, this is a luxury, because technically it is not a necessity. So we have to label it
Mhm.
as a luxury. If that is truly a luxury for them to go with us, how can we make them feel so confident and want to have our business rather than us feeling like we have to discount ourselves and appease them?
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
take on that?
I love that. That's a great comparison, right? Because it's so funny how aligned we are. I was just at a job site this morning at 9 a.m. doing a walkthrough, and it's a high end luxury type community. And she's like, "Oh, so and so referred you," and I just had to have the best painters. Like
Mm-hmm.
that came from her mouth, right? Like as I'm looking at one of my competitors across the street that's been there all week last week.
Yeah.
And when I hear stuff like that, it's exactly what you're talking about. If you got your brand right, if you got your social media down and you have a good name and you have great reputation and all those things, people want a piece of that, right? They want to be a part of that. And you got to remember, people entertain people at their homes. What do they want, right?
Yeah.
They want to be able to say, oh, we use this type of painting company and this is what it is. It is a status, essentially. So I agree with you. I mean, people buy these other things because it's more of a, and I'll be honest with you, like I wear, like right now I'm wearing an H&M shirt, right? And I
Shout
wore,
out.
yeah, man, like I wore I went to Nordstrom Racks like 3 years ago or something like that. And I bought this one shirt. I was like, ooh, like
Mm-hmm.
the quality is different,
Yeah.
right? So like to me that was different, but like obviously you can get higher quality with a brand, but how's that in the painting world? Well, how you perceive yourself and how you present yourself, people are going to buy off that too. And I love the fact that we are professionalizing the trades. And as we keep doing that, like what people don't realize, I'll say this real quick because I know we're kind of getting to an end, just between, like, I'm sure we could do static, like you and I could probably look at our stats and see how many 7-figure people have
Yeah.
learned from us in our group. They say 5% of trades, 5% are in the 7 figures in the US. 5%. I know out of at least 20 some odd people in my group, like 18 of them are 7 figures. Like, think about that. And I
Mm-hmm.
know you have pretty much the same status in that sense. So the fact that we're professionalizing the trades, what do you think that's happening? You're already beating your competitors. You guys are already made a commitment to get to that next level. So I love the fact that you mentioned that. I believe highly in that.
Yeah.
And you got to continue to level up and continue to grow your business. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got me
Dude.
excited on that one.
I love it, man. And I heard somebody say something recently that was like aligned to all this, right? He's going in for the close and he's in like Charleston, South Carolina, something like
Mm,
that. And he talked to me through a sale and how he closed this big deal on the spot. It was like 36K on the spot. And he's
yeah.
going through it and he battling objections and whatnot. But at the end, the way he got them was, I'll give you the 10%, right? We'll talk, like, that's no problem. As long as you give us a great review and shout out that you worked with the best painting company in South Charleston, we'll get this done.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
power play. That
That
is
is a
somebody who built the brand, spent the money on the vendors, did the great work, went through a sales process with confidence, and labeled himself as the best to give his client confidence.
yeah. Dude, that's a first of all, congratulations, man. That's a move right there. But you're right. If
Mm-hmm.
you feel it, see it, and you move like it, you are like it,
Yeah.
right? So it's like customers can see that too.
Perception is reality. And guys, I want to just like lastly end on this. Most of these clients, obviously smaller deals, they become penny pinchers. But once you start getting in the 7, 8, 9, 10K, they're
Yep.
already spending thousands.
Mm-hmm.
This status symbol stuff, their perception of you and how, you go about your business and sales presentation, all that becomes increasingly important when it's, do I want to spend an extra 1,000 with this guy who I feel super confident in if I were to work with him?
100%.
So it all matters. That's how you raise your job size. That's how you get into these wealthier areas. That's how you solidify yourself as a number one option, is by getting to that status symbol, right? So
100%.
when you decide not to invest with that high-end vendor, or not to do the website the right way, or not get the extra piece of marketing because you're saving a couple hundred, how much are you sacrificing on the back end for your profits and your sales?
Wow.
We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
And I got a quote I'll end it on to align with everything, guys. Perception is reality. Don't forget it.
Love it, dude. Way to crush it today. I love
it. Thanks, bro. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Super excited. Let's go.